Hey everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at Grammar Exercise 1 from Chapter 18 of the Road to Latin textbook. So like I've told you in these different grammar explanation videos, the first thing you want to do before you dive into this is make sure at this point you've gone through all the vocab of the chapter, you've read through all the grammar notes, you've practiced it, you feel pretty good about it, right? You don't want to just dive right into the grammar without having read through the story so you can see the grammar in context. That's always the best way to do it. And make sure you know what the vocab is too, right? That way you're kind of taking everything you've learned from the chapter and now applying it at the end just to make sure that you understand how the grammar works. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this grammar exercise one at a time. I'll explain it to you, but if you haven't taken a little bit of time to work through the grammar on your own, I'd recommend that you pause the video right now, go back and do it, and then come back to this video so you can check your answers against mine to make sure that you're on the right page. Okay. So let's dive in. Grammar Exercise 1 from Chapter 18 is all about passive voice, right? That's really what the grammar was. So the first thing you want to do is it's asking you to give the English translation of the following verb forms. And you might have noticed all these verbs are passive. So the first one we have here is laudor. Laudor just means I am being praised. You can tell because it has that R ending to it. The next one you have is doceris, right? Doceris is just second person singular, passive voice. So it means you are being taught, right? You are taught is another way to do it, but you are being taught works as well. Third, you have vincetur, right? The tur means he, she, or it. So vincetur means he, she, or it is being conquered. The next verb you have is impedimur, right? The mur means we, right? It's passive voice. So impedimur means we are being hindered. The next verb you have is salutamini, right? So the mini ending rather is second person plural. So salutamini means y'all, right? Or you all are being greeted. Next, you have timentor, and again, the ntur ending rather is third person plural, passive voice. So timentor just means they are being feared, not they fear, but they are being feared, right? Because you're making it passive. Next, you have ducor, which means I am being led. Then you have pararis, which means you, singular, are being prepared. Then you have aperitur, which means he, she, or it is being opened. Next, you have videmur, which means we are being seen. It could also mean we seem, but kind of a basic translation is we are being seen. Then you have pelimini, there we go, which means y'all or you all are being driven out. And lastly, in this part of the exercise, you have aperiuntur, which means they are being opened. Okay, so for all these, all you're doing is you're taking the verb that's given and you're just trying to translate it, right? You're just kind of going through the passive voice endings. So now we get to part 2 of Grammar Exercise 1. And this, the instructions are to express the following in Latin. So you're taking these English phrases and you're flipping them around into Latin. So all you need to do here is you have to know what verb you're looking at. That's all. So for I am being wounded, it's vulneror, right? It's the verb vulnerare, to wound. You're putting it passive voice, first person singular, vulneror, okay? Next, we have I am being driven, which would be pelor. Then you have you, singular, are feared or are being feared, which is timeris, right? The RIS ending is what you want. Then you have you, singular, are hindered or you are being hindered, however you want to do it. It's impediris, right? The RIS ending again is second person singular. Then you have he is led. It would be ducatur, T-U-R, right? Is he, she, or it is being something, right? Passive voice. Then you have he is asked, which is rogator, right? It's the verb to ask, rogare, which is the tur ending. Then you have we are heard or we are being heard, audimur, right? It's the verb audire, to hear, just put an mur ending on it. Next, you have we are seen, videmur. Then you have you all, right? You plural, are killed, nekamini, right? So again, you have the mini ending to necare. Next, you have you all, or y'all are left, relinquimini, right? Again, you're adding the mini ending to relinquere. Then for they are held, or they are being held, you have tenentur, right? You're just putting the ntur ending on teneo, tenere, to hold. And last, you have they are heard, or they are being heard, which would be audiuntur. Okay, it's the verb audire. You're just putting an ntur ending, passive voice, and you're good to go. Okay? So the third part right, in grammar exercise 1, it says change the above verbs in part 1 to their corresponding active form. So we're going back to part 1 and we're just flipping from passive to active voice. So what I've done here on the left, you can see the passive forms, right? You have vulneror, pellor, timeris, impediris, and ducator. And on the right, this is what their active forms would be. So vulneror just becomes vulno. Pellor becomes pello. Timeris becomes times. Impediris becomes impedis. And ducator becomes ducit. So the short version, what I did is just change the endings, right? It's from passive to active. So from R-I-S-T-U-R, we went to O-S-T, right? It's kind of that symbol. And you just kind of work your way backwards and you'll end up with the right answer. Now, the next kind of part we had from part 1, the next set of verbs, we had rogator, which becomes rogat, audimor, which becomes audimus, videmor, which becomes videmus, necamini, which becomes necatis, and relinquimini, which becomes relinquitus. Okay, so you're just flipping again from passive to active. And lastly, we have our third person plural forms. We have habentor and audiuntor. So habentor becomes habent and audiuntor becomes audiunt. And again, it's not anything complicated here. You're just switching your verb endings from passive to active voice, and you'll end up in the right spot. Okay? Now for part 4 of grammar exercise 1, this is the last part. It says conjugate the present active and passive of the following verbs, giving the English meaning of each form. Okay, so the first one we have here is neko nekare, which means to kill. So on the left in red, we have the active forms. You would go to the infinitive, drop the re, add your endings, and you get neko, nekas, nekat, nekamis, nekatis, nekant. So you're saying I kill, you kill, he, she, it kills, we kill, you all kill, and they kill, right? Kind of a downer verb, but still that's what it means. Now on the passive side, we're doing the exact same thing. We're just changing the endings, right? Nothing to really worry about. It's the first conjugation verb. So you go from neko, nekas to nekor, nekaris, nekator, nekamor, nekamini, nekantor. So here, instead of I kill, you're saying I am being killed, you are being killed, he, she, it is being killed, we are being killed, y'all are being killed, and they are being killed. Okay, again, downer verb, but you can still conjugate and figure it out. Now, the second verb they gave you is a second conjugation verb. You can tell by the long ere in videre, right? So all you have to do, right, to make it present active, you go to the infinitive, you drop the re, add your endings. So you go with video, which is your first principal part, right? So you have video, vides, videt, videmus, videtus, vident. Right? So you're saying I see, you see, he, she, it sees, we see, you all see, they see, right? Just down the line in the red, right? That's the active endings. Now the passives again are in blue. So you switch the endings around and you would have videor, videris, videtor, videmor, videmini, videntor. Okay, so you're saying I am being seen, you are being seen, he, she, it is being seen, we are being seen, you all are being seen, and they are being seen, right? We're just making passive translations, right? We translate it passively. Maybe is a better way to say it. Then the third verb is duco ducore, which is a third conjugation verb. So at present active, you would go to the infinitive, drop the re, and do our vowel flip. E becomes I, and then you. So you'd have duco, right? I lead. Then you'd have ducus, ducit, ducamus, ducatus, ducunt, right? So you have the unt at the end. So again, you're going I lead, you lead, he, she, it leads, we lead, you all lead, they lead, right? That's the translation of the different forms on the left, which are active. The passive are over to the right in blue. Again, we're just changing the endings around. You'd have ducor, ducatus. Remember, in third conjugation, the second person singular stays as an E, right? So ducatus, ducator, ducamor, ducimini, ducuntor. And you're saying I am being led, you are being led, he, she, it is being led, we are being led, you all are being led, and they are being led. Okay, so again, just the passive forms. And lastly, we have impedio, impedire, which means to hinder. Okay? So you, it's just a fourth conjugation verb. So the actives are on the left in red. You'd have impedio, impedis, impedit, impedimus, impeditus, and impediunt. So you're saying I hinder, you hinder, he, she, it hinders, we hinder, you all hinder, and they hinder. Now for passives over on the right in blue, just change the endings, right? Nothing too crazy here. You'd have impedior, impedirus, impeditor, impedimur, impedimini, and impediuntur. So you're saying, I am being hindered, you are being hindered, he, she, it is being hindered, we are being hindered, you all are being hindered, and they are being hindered. Again, it's very repetitive, which is the point, but it's getting you to see the active and the passive forms to help you out. Right in this chapter, you're really diving into it. So the textbook just wants to make sure that visually you can see how the active and passive relate to each other and sort of the differences between the two, particularly in the endings, right? Of course. Okay. So if you have any questions at all, just put them in the comments below. I'm always more than happy to help you or explain whatever you might need. But otherwise, make sure that you're able to do this on your own, right? And that what you put down for your answers matches up with what I gave you. That's how you know you're in a really good spot and that you're ready to move on. Okay. If for whatever reason you weren't able to get the right answer, that's probably a good sign that you should go back, read through the grammar, right? Just brush up a little bit on it or listen to the way I described it and try to fix where you went wrong. But one way or another, you probably want to make sure that by the time you're ready to move on from chapter 18, you can do this grammar exercise without too much trouble. Okay? Again, let me know if you need anything. Otherwise, keep practicing and good luck.